Hello people and welcome back to Case Mega Man's Tribute. Time for Mega Man 3. Top Man stage caused me some problems, as I recall. Had several issues and it might have been the cats, but I'm not too sure. I remember putting this off for quite a while and I think I failed a lot of times in this. Could also be those weird fleas that the stage has here in the beginning. But not really sure what caused me to have so much problems. It's an easy stage under normal circumstances. So I'm not sure what the problem was. Slide here, please. Good. Maybe I missed the shots on these. Don't know, it's not a hard stage. Or it shouldn't be. There's a lot of things you can do to make it easier. But if I had to guess, it's probably missing on the cats. You really have to count your shots. And the cats are pretty high up, so you really have to reach up in there. And maybe when you're doing a no-miss, the hairballs that they puke out, they might get in your way. I guess that was the problem. I don't see any other section here that would be problematic. Especially this one, if the fleas come out. You might run into some problems, but taking it out fast like that. And that's also a reasonable thing to do, is cycle your shots. So if you know something takes, let's say 10 shots, you might want to fire 2 times every time you jump instead of 3, so you can keep track of your shots. That's also one more tip right there. So it's not a bad stage, I just I remember recording a lot of this. Probably just some dumb luck or something else. Shouldn't have too many problems here. It always bothered me how Mega Man doesn't roll around on those tops, just goes left and right. I guess the technology wasn't quite there yet. As to say, they didn't want to make more sprite states. Top Man, probably everyone knows how to fight. Shoot, shoot, slide out of the way. And that's all he does. Kind of a letdown boss, if you ask me. Takes 2 damage as well. If he didn't, this would take forever and it would draw people to look at the bad design of the Robot Master. If you spend more time in the room than necessary, people would notice, hey, this is kind of a lackluster boss. Well, we still noticed, that didn't help. That is Top Man stage done right there. Hard Man. My memory is not too great on these old episodes. I've slept since then. What you wanna do here is not that. You wanna scroll down the big hornet immediately, so it doesn't drop any smaller hornets in, like that. Since the spawn point comes from the left, once you scroll the hornet off, there's no way for it to respawn. Well, forced rush coil usage. There's no other way to go past this. Just don't fire any shots while in rush coil form. Honestly, wouldn't bother me since still buster shots, but I was extra careful with the rules. And it's good to do that, since things will come back and haunt you if you don't. Of course, some harder stages to understand how to do them, like Flame Man stage from Mega Man 6, has a lot of issues, and they will always come back to you and, hey, you could have done this even better. But I'll get to that once we cross that bridge. Nothing too problematic here. In Hard Man stage, just lure out the monkeys from the top by tippy-toeing close to them. They'll drop down and then either shoot them or just leave the area. which in a no-miss challenge should be the better option. And unfortunately, these Pickleman bulls will randomly ding your shot, even if you shoot them in the head. Luckily that did not happen here, but it happened plenty of times. That is probably one single frame where they do that, some kind of a glitch. That is not intended at all. Nice, 4 little energies in a row. And here's probably the hardest section to pull off. But nothing too bad once you know to despawn the hornets, and it's a pretty short stage. Kinda like the Guts and Fleshman stages. And with Breakman, that's pretty much it. Nothing to worry about here. Simple patterns so far, and rather easy stage to tackle first. So I'm not surprised this was my order. I'd like to think that before I did these, I probably thought about the stages and how they would play in my head and then attempted them. So I didn't just go in randomly. This big guy is a lot easier to predict than the one in Mega Man 1. Can't remember the individual names for each game, so I just always call them big eyes. That's what they are to me. In hard mass fight you wanna despawn the fists by going to the absolute edge of the screen. If you don't, the fists will come back like boomerangs and you'll have a much harder time. So again, patience pays off. You can still get a decent 1 or 2 shots in. Probably even 3 if you're brave enough. But no sense in doing that. Just take your time. That's the beauty of this challenge. It allows you to really learn everything that there is to Mega Man, and if you deal with obstacles in a clean manner, then the more you learn, the more time you spend in a said room. It gives you all the keys to the kingdom, and in the future, when you play these games, you know exactly what to do. And you don't have to even worry about missing shots. So then you have this knowledge with you, and you don't even have to worry about missing. So you just hammer them. Of course, some bosses work differently depending on what you do and what buttons you press. So in those cases, you might still want to use these strategies. Heartman is easy even if you spam him in a normal run. You can, if you have close to full health, you can just spam him to death. He can't win unless you collide with his body. But why would you do that? So that's how easy this is if you think about that. Heartman stage really not a problem. Taking it slow though, don't wanna ruin my progress. That's always on my mind. I don't wanna redo the stage 20 times because I took an extra shot for no reason. Gotta be careful. That's Heartman. Sparkman is next. Probably the hardest thing in this level is the last section if you don't know how it works. Or if you haven't practiced it enough. That's probably the main issue here. Everything else can be easily learned by just looking at it. But the best tip for the last section is to slide off of solid blocks and jump out of moving ones. That way you'll have the easiest time. Of course you can just lure out the bolts and go back and forth like that. That'll help as well. But nothing to write home about in the beginning here. There's really, it's just repetition. And there is a lot of repetition in this challenge. If you look at the clips like this, like how much work could this really be? All the bosses and stages from Mega Man 3 done in no miss, no damage, perfect. Oh, it'll take a half an hour, like this video probably. Yeah, it's a bit of an understatement. This, oh my god, I can't believe I did that section like that. Needlessly difficult. Oh yeah, and here's another luck part. If that dings your shots, you're done. But yeah, you can easily underestimate the amount of work that goes into something like this. If you just look at the clips like this, well, I can do that. It's extremely easy. Just look at this. Nothing to worry about, right? But once you actually try and do this, it's at that point you start to tear your hair out. Especially if nobody else has done it before. You're just going in first time, like I did. Well, yeah, you're gonna have a bit of problems as you go through. But that was the fun part about it. Like figuring stuff out on my own, not having nobody else's blueprints for me ready for ready for me to copy. I had to actually work for these. Of course, at some point when others joined this challenge, I took a few tips here and there, but mostly I just wanted to do this on my own. And become better that way, instead of looking at how others did it. But that was that section. Looks easy when you've done it multiple times. But that's probably the most difficult part of this. And you don't want to be on the left side when Sparkman lands on that platform, because then you can't dodge his attack. It's not dodgeable. So try to avoid getting stuck on the left side. Just slide under him when he's moving through the top. Always be ready for that. That was kind of a mistake right there. I wasn't ready for it. So if he would have jumped left, I would have been trapped. I can't remember if Sparkman always goes left and then right and then left and then right. Like if he always goes to the other end of the room every time, or does he alter? I'm not sure. But in any case, that's Sparkman down. Magnet Man's turn. This would be the easiest level in Mega Man 3 if it wasn't for the homing missile enemies. You need to rapid fire them fast and then take care of the missiles. Other than that, there's really nothing in this level. It's not a good level if you critically evaluate it. It's pretty poor. And doesn't have a lot of going for it. It introduces those magnets at the beginning and then just never shows them again. It just never brings them back. What a letdown. And most of the stage is just Yoku blocks and this. So that's the issue right here. Reminds me of the hippo in Mega Man 4. Probably borrowed material what comes to code. And here you wanna wait for these eyeballs to drop down, so you don't have to fight them. That would be probably can be done, but it's gonna be close. They take 3 shots, and if you just if you had to lay down 6 shots in that previous screen before getting hit, would probably be difficult. Looks like I insisted of going down next to the ladder. And we're almost done, just Yoku blocks left. And they didn't account for cheating. Like that. Of course, that doesn't break any rules, just if the game allows it, I'll do it. Why wait? Such an easy stage. Especially normally. Just those homing missiles can be a problem, especially the last one. Right before the gate. And I did that in a more difficult way than need be. That could have been handled better. But I probably didn't want to wait. And that's smart. Wait for the enemy to drop down and just run from the missile. Good play right there. I didn't remember I did it like that. Then Magnet Man is nothing else but waiting for opportunities to shoot him. That was a dumb shot to take. I don't know why I did that. Am I gonna do that every time? Ah, that's my strategy apparently. Look at that. I don't even remember any of this. That's a weird way to deal with Magnet Man. Is it possible that if you're just on the left side he never uses his magnets? It does appear so, unless this is extremely good RNG. Yeah, that's just RNG right there. Interesting. I don't remember fighting Magnet Man like this, but if it works, it works. That's just, I think that's just needless to hug the walls. Well, what's done is done. This is part of history I wish not to revisit. And there's nothing wrong with this, it's just weird. Well, that's a strange way to kill Magnet Man, but it has been done. Needle Man. One of those bosses that is quite like Quick Man, but not as hard as... it's a lot easier to predict, it's a lot slower. It's also one of my favorite fights, because it's so reaction based. The hedgehogs you wanna stay clear out of. Don't really wanna fire at them either. Just wasted bullets. Needle Man stage, weird in the way that it doesn't have any spikes in it. Don't know if that's intentional or not, probably not. Cannons don't wanna shoot them if they are inside the shell, because then it does not work. Needless back and forth movement right there. Lure the Met to the left. I have less problems. Just a lot of small movement that has to be done in this section to avoid getting hit. It's not so much about missing here, it's more about getting hit there. And then, believe it or not, we're close to the end of the stage already. It's just so short. There's really not much going on. Some of the stages in Mega Man 3 truly a letdown. But hey, it's an alright game otherwise. And again, this stage is a lot about memorization and how to do things. And then you just repeat them. You can scum the hammered shows like this. Just position yourself on top of the ladder and fire away. The hammer will not hit you. Or if you're brave enough, you can go point blank and kill them that way. Slide under the hammer, but why would you do that? In a no-miss challenge, that makes no sense. Homage to Elec Man stage apparently with a big eye right before the gate. This one you can kill though. There's enough time and enough room for that. So here's one of my favorite fights in the no-miss challenge. This is just fun. Needle Man is fun. And if you're wondering why the image quality is so blurry, and every time characters move there's a lot of ghosting going on, that's because I didn't know how to record things properly when I was doing this challenge. It's been so long. So there's not much I can do to improve that. So I had different frame rates on the actual project, and when I rendered it, it was another frame rate. So that's why the ghosting occurs. There's nothing much... or rather, there's nothing I can do about it now. So you just have to suffer through this. What a fun fight though. Extremely fun. Snake Man stage. Pretty straightforward. Again, it's all about just doing it a couple of times and then remembering where everything is. And some reaction going on as well if you happen to spawn enemies back in weird ways. A lot of fast moving enemies in this one, which you don't have to anticipate for if you know where they are. This is the screen with probably... It's probably a screen where I took damage the most, I would imagine. Just have to be fast. And again, fire 2 times every time you jump so that you don't have to count your shots. So you just fire random amounts, it's hard to keep track of. So 2 shots per jump should be a good strategy right there. Almost got hit. That's how easy it is to scroll back enemies in Snake Man stage. Especially the moving ones. That's a nice combination of enemies. Little gyro things and these pole vaulter enemies. It's a good combination. Wanna trick them out, so you don't have to worry about those. Just scroll in one enemy at a time, don't just rush through. See, what this challenge teaches Mega Man players is patience, and a lot of it. This showcases how Mega Man was supposed to be played. Not just it's not a run and gun game, like people say. That's not what it is about. It's about patience and learning. It's about looking over the situation before you go and do things. And that taught me a lot. That's a nice graphical glitch. Don't even remember don't remember having a glitch like that in the video. That is not in the game, that's in the actual YouTube video. Some kind of buffering glitch. I can't even remember what kind of equipment I used back then. Like, I remember I had a Mac, but I guess I used iMovie or something. And at some point I built my... well, it wasn't my first PC, but it was the first modern PC at that time. Yeah, there's a lot of glitches in this video feed. But at that point I started using Sony Vegas, and now in 2020 I'm using DaVinci Resolve, which is probably the best editing software I've used. But that is that. Wait for the spire fellow to come down and handle it. This you wanna jump before these platforms come up, as sometimes the platform can shove you down to your death. Some kind of a bug in that. Don't know what causes it. Probably the element gets stuck inside Mega Man and somehow shoves him out. So just jump every time when you're on top of those tubes. And you wanna really plan how you hit these, so they don't hit you as return. And that's that. Not too bad, not too easy, probably a moderate difficulty stage. If you think about it, Snake Man himself, once you know the pattern and you dodge the first attack, then you're pretty much clear. You can easily see what to do here. Get back in the middle every time you can. And another close miss right there. It's fun seeing these close misses, because you would think that, hey, this is perfection, it's perfect, no miss, no damage. But there have been some close calls in these successful runs. That was one of them. It's fun to see those. It still showcases that I'm a human and I can make mistakes. And oh boy, I can make mistakes for days. And Snake Man done though. And then we have the motherfucker of Mega Man 3, Gemini Man. Probably the hardest one. The hardest stage, hands down. And it's all due to the beginning. Gemini Man himself can be a bit of trouble, but it is truly the beginning here that's the problem. You can also randomly ding your shots on the eggs, which makes this even more problematic. Penguins take a ton of shots. The flamethrower eyeball fellows are hard to predict sometimes. Makes you lose your footing. You have to watch for 3 different things essentially at the same time. Or 4. The flames, the eyeballs, the eggs and the penguins. That's 4 things to look at. So once you clear this section, and I remember this took forever to do this. This was it looks so easy. Like this is just a successful run. Look at how easy this is. No, not easy. You have to precisely know where everything is, and there shoot in advance to get enough shots in before the egg catches up to you. Or rather, before he even shoots the egg out. And here you can glitch this section by jumping right in the pit before Proto Man appears, but since I denied glitches, that is not allowed. And here, all you have to be careful about is the edge of the screen, so you don't accidentally miss the eggs. That's the only problem here. Otherwise, it's just slowly getting through this, slowly and methodically. Just always be careful about when the eggs run out, don't shoot anymore. And here's one of the most ridiculous jumps you can have in Mega Man. for no reason. That jump is just doesn't make any sense how you have to do that. But I guess challenge is challenge. It's Nintendo anyway. So here's the penguin. I never understood these mini bosses. You have to shoot them in the eyes, not the rotating whatever the twisty handle that is. So shoot them in the eyes instead. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, it's kind of a winder of sorts. Probably makes the penguin work kind of like a toy. So I would shoot that instead of the eyes. But hey, I didn't design the game. What do I know? Just be careful about the dragonflies is what I can tell you. There you go. And shooting twice every time assures that you don't miss the final shot. Forced coil usage here. Can't go around it. At least nobody has so far. Maybe if somebody knows a glitch or a bug that can be done probably without. But since it's now 2020 and nobody has figured that out, I don't have high hopes for it anymore. That's the thing about these. Somebody will always figure out a way to do something more clean. That's one of the things I hated about this challenge. You could always, or always, but you can sometimes find ways to make it even more clean. That was a hard screen right there with the Mega Heroes. Have to lay down the shot perfectly. And after you've gone this far and missing on that screen, yeah, that's rage-indulging material. Gemini Man will go and do this for the first half, and then he will fire his Gemini laser on the second half. If you let him, if you just hug him like this, keep shooting him, there's not much he can do. Sometimes he can just vanish altogether. There's a glitch in the game where he can just disappear and the game locks up and you're in the room and nothing happens. Luckily that didn't happen on this run. I would have probably killed someone. When I said Gemini Man was the motherfucker of Mega Man 3, I don't know what to tell you about Shadow Man. Probably one of the worst bosses ever made in terms of design. Oh, nothing bad here in the beginning, except a Bullwinkle Bulgur, whatever that enemy's name is. Pickleman Bull, that's right. Which can, like I said, randomly ding your shot. That's the only problem here. And then Proto Man, or rather Break Man, makes another appearance, which you just have to dispose of the same manner you do every time. Shadow Man stage is all over the place when it comes to enemies and mechanics. It's a weird one. The whole team is kind of strange. Just have to be really careful about these grenades, because they explode when you shoot them. So the best option is not to shoot them, but go by them. Kind of depends where they are as well. But you can miss easily, and you can get easily damaged if you're too close. So just use your best judgment when you deal with this. And be careful that nothing respawns accidentally if you scroll the screen in weird ways. That's about all you have to worry about. That's a way to despawn one of the enemies. Make it jump right out of the screen. And the trick here is to shoot these when they touch the ground. Well, not the ground, but when they are about to land. That's when you shoot them. And get them every time. I'm pretty sure you can slide under them even if they make a low hop, but that's... Never got the timing down, so I never did that. And this is just a bunch of waiting. And I didn't even want to shoot these, like there's no reason. So you just wait for them to float down. Kind of a boring section to have in a stage like this. Or well, I guess any stage for that matter. Just to quote a famous person, what were they thinking? But for a no-miss purpose, this is good. Makes the ending a bit easier. Of course, there's that one Mega Hero that's gonna come after this section that you have to know about. Otherwise you're done. And you have to hit him as well. That's the whole issue with this. So after you wait all of this out, then you miss or get hit here. Yeah, that stings. There you go. So the stage is not easy and the boss is even more ridiculous. Took me 5 years to do this perfectly. 5 years, think about that. Think about how long... That's most of what the challenge took in its entirety. If you think about that. That's ridiculous. Because you never know what he's gonna do. He has telegraphs, but if you look at the telegraph then it's already too late. If you see him throwing the star out, well then you know he's gonna do that, but if he used the slide instead, you're too late, you're gonna get hit. One of the worst bosses design-wise ever to occur in Mega Man games. But he just gave me the best pattern. After 5 years he did, so that's ridiculous. I don't wanna see Shadow Man ever again. And that is Mega Man 3 done. We will be moving on to Mega Man 4 next. Catch you on the next one.